Good morning, I'm Mike, and today we're going to do a 1 hour yoga practice with some meditation. We'll start with some warming up, working into some poses, and we'll actually spend about half the time on meditation. So at the end, 25 minutes in seated silent meditation. So we'll begin today becoming aware of our bodies and moving, starting in the standing posture. Have our feet about hip width apart here, whatever is comfortable. And we'll start with a few forward folds. Hands at the sides and resting shoulders down, relaxing. Inhaling and raising the arms, and exhaling through the fingertips and folding forward. Taking a breath and then returning to standing. Raising the arms overhead and then bringing them back at the side. Feeling with each forward fold the stretching and reaching through the muscles and breathing into the body. We'll do a few more of these at our own pace. Reaching and stretching. In the forward fold, feeling the head hanging down and stretching through the back of the neck. Now let's work into we'll actually do some standing postures. Won't go right into vinyasa just yet. But stepping one foot back, we'll move into a warrior one posture. So the front foot is pointed forward and the back foot is about an angle to off in the side that way. And then feeling some bracing of the core. So like your hips are kind of like pushing forward a little bit instead of swaying back as much. Placing the hands at the heart area. Then taking a few breaths here, rolling the shoulders down and away. On another inhale, raising the arms overhead. Taking a few breaths here. Opening through the upper back. Exhaling, we can return the hands down. Stepping forward with both feet. Taking a breath here. Now stepping back with the other foot, warrior one on the other side. May feel some tension differences on either side. Inhaling, raising the arms overhead. Reaching all the way up from the lower back and around the abdomen's area, and then up through the fingertips. Turning and moving back forward again into standing. We'll do a couple of standing twist postures, stepping back again with the other foot. This time we're in a forward lunge. That means that both feet are pointed forward. We got the front knee bent and the back leg kind of extended, but with a micro bend in the knee. And try to work towards having the feet pointing forward. And the same, putting the hands at the heart area. Taking a breath, we can hinge forward at the hips and twist towards that front knee. Breathing and releasing. Turning center and stepping forward, taking a breath. Stepping back with the other leg into forward lunge. Feeling the feet planted in a way that the toes are pointed forward. Rising up from the torso into the hands placed at the heart, and then twisting towards the other knee. Turning to standing posture, mountain pose. Taking a few breaths here. And we'll actually go down to the mat or to the ground. So you can find any way down to the ground if you want. We can squat down and roll back. I'm going to start with a prayer kind of meditation. It's one way to start the day is with an intention, or at least with gratitude, and remembering perhaps a higher power, if that's within your practice. One prayer that can be said is the Our Father, which is of the Christian method, Christian religion. And even though it is definitely an older version prayer, but it's just one way to get in tune with God in a way that you're feeling gratitude for the day and being ready. We'll start here. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Starting the day with gratitude for what we might experience, and are keeping that with us, remembering that we're experiencing in the moment, and being grateful for what the day has to offer, if we'll be accepting for it. And remembering God, if that's in your practice. So we'll start with this seated hero pose. And we'll do a little bit more of that twisting posture, but this time we'll do a kneeling lunge, stepping forward with one foot, and then feeling the stretch along the back thigh. Taking a few breaths here, opening the chest and lunging forward a bit. With each breath, releasing. And then we can return to the same, placing hands at the heart, and then twisting towards the front knee. We'll extend the front leg. Do a little bit of a hamstring type stretch. Inhaling and raising the close to a flat back, and micro bend in that knee, but then hinging forward at the hips so that we can feel the sensation of stretch along the back of the leg. Taking a few breaths. And then returning to the seated posture, often called hero pose, or kind of like a Zen meditation type pose. And then we'll move forward on the other side into kneeling lunge. Feeling the stretch in that back thigh again, into the hip flexor group. And then twisting, placing the hands at the heart towards that front knee. Returning to center and then extending the front leg a bit. Working towards a kind of a flat back as we're hinging forward at the hips and feeling the sensation along the back of the leg and the hamstrings. Breathing through the muscles. Returning to that seated hero pose. And then we'll step forward with both feet into standing again. Rising up, however it feels comfortable. Feeling the sensation of release from around the hips into the lower back and all the way up. We can stand here in mountain pose for a few moments. I'm just going to turn the air up, but it's very humid today. Now, feeling the feet planted, gonna work into a few balancing postures. One balancing posture, we can start with just the tree pose, Vrikshasana, placing the heel against the inside of the calf, or raising it up above or below the knee, placing it on the leg. Taking a few breaths here. Perhaps placing the hands at the chest. From here, we can rest our foot back on the ground or move into Garudasana, which is eagle posture. Crossing that front knee over the leg, and the same side arm goes under the other arm, like the elbows, like this. A little tight. Let me go again. I'll just do like a modified eagle here. And then we're sitting back, extending through the torso for a few breaths. Now I'll demonstrate on the other side. Moving into that tree pose, resting the sole of the foot against the calf or the thigh. I'm standing on padded yoga mats and on carpet, so it's very, very squishy. Not very good for balancing, but it's good for getting sensation into the feet. And with the eagle pose, this time the other leg is going to go in the front, and then that same side arm goes under the other elbow. And I'll show you from the side how it looks as we're kind of having a flat back, extending through the chest, opening up. So it's more of like you're kind of opening up everything while in that posture. Then we'll move back to the ground. We'll do a couple sun salutations. Standing in mountain pose, inhaling and raising the arms overhead, exhaling and folding. Raising up with a flat back and stepping back into plank, lowering down. Inhaling, raising into upward facing dog. And then back into downward facing dog. Taking about 5 breaths here. Stepping back forward with both feet between the hands. Extending through the back, inhaling, exhaling, and folding. Inhaling, raising up to standing. Into mountain pose. After a breath here, we'll work on the other side. Inhaling, raising up. Exhaling, folding. Raising up with a flat back and exhaling, stepping back into plank and lowering down. Inhaling upward facing dog and exhaling downward facing dog. Then we'll return to the mat here, lowering down both knees. And then we can come back into that seated posture. Let's come down to a cross-legged posture, or lotus if that's in your practice. We'll focus on sensation of feeling our sit bones rooted down into the ground. I'll do a few side kind of stretch kind of moves. Inhaling with the arms at the sides, placing one hand down against the mat and bringing the other arm overhead. Exhaling, lowering down. Arm feels a lot better since last week. Kind of strained what I think was the supraspinatus tendon. So it's always good to prevent injury and perhaps condition. Doing things like stretching, obviously yoga helps, but yoga is not really meant for just physical benefits, but it does have physical benefits. Inhaling, raising the other side. And releasing. We can even do a few twists from here. Seated, feeling rooted down, raising up through the torso and relaxing the shoulders. We can place one hand in front and the other behind, taking an inhale and exhaling as we're twisting from the lower back all the way up. A few breaths here. Returning to center and then twisting the other way. Extending up through the torso and expanding the chest. And releasing. Returning to center. Let's move into a forward fold, like a seated forward fold. And we can extend the legs into staff pose, as it's called in the West. And raising up with a kind of a flat lower back, extending through the arms. For a few breaths here. And exhaling, folding forward. Now really it's just hinging at the hips with a kind of a flat back. But if you want to get more of a stretch and it feels it's not straining yourself too much, you can always reach for the feet and then kind of like around your back a little bit and feel that sensation along the body, along the back, that kind of rear chain from all the way to the back of the legs to the back of the arms, all the way up into the, you might feel it up into your shoulders and everything. If you choose to do kind of a stretch, it's always focusing on opening up the chest and hinging forward from the hips. With each breath, releasing. And as a counter to this pose, we can focus on strengthening the um, posterior chain, I guess it would be. Planting the heels on the ground, placing the hands slightly like behind and below where the shoulder blades are, and pressing the hips up towards the sky for a few breaths. From here, we can even press the chest forward as we're lowering down and expanding the chest. And we can move into that forward fold one more time if you want. I'm actually going to find some a book that says what the name of that pose is. Let's see. Um, hmm, okay. Oh, you're okay. Well, so that seated forward fold is it's a pretty basic one. I should probably know this. It's called staff pose. Uh, if you want to move back into that extended reverse plank type pose, feel free. The reverse plank pose where the hips are pressing up is called Purvattanasana, which it means front stretching, but I think it's also back activating. And wow. Yeah, that was my printer that just printed something late. I don't know what happened there, but I guess it just connected to my computer. So there we go. Wow. That's, I think it's, I'm not sure. Well, not in the interest of time. I mean, staff pose is Dandasana, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this is staff pose. And then this is like kind of a forward fold into staff pose. So I guess it's technically is Dandasana. And then yeah. All right. A few more minutes here. So I don't want to take too much time looking at that. I should have probably prepared. So we'll move down to a laying down posture. Roll onto the back. And from here, we can actually do a bridge or a plow pose. So bridge is the same as the reverse plank, but instead we're just placing our hands, the fingertips kind of at the heels, and then pressing the hips up towards the sky. Taking a few breaths here. Now, with the plow pose, you want to place the weight onto your shoulders, not onto the back of the head as much. So the weight is on like the top of the traps, on the shoulders, back, the upper back. And we can have our legs fully extended or even a little bent is okay. Bringing them up and overhead. So see, the weight is on my upper back, not on the head as much. Taking a few breaths with the nose pointed up towards the sky, and you can feel the release along the back and the lower back and the legs. I was a little forced with my breathing, so make sure you're breathing and releasing, and then move into the posture. That's way less range of motion than I would normally have into that. But you don't push it. You just want to feel the right amount of sensation. Usually you exhale before you move into that posture. You can remain laying down on the ground and extending the arms and legs, relaxing into Shavasana, or we can come into a seated meditation posture. And we'll spend about 25 minutes in silent meditation. I'm still going to use my Zen meditation bench here. It's kind of a beginner type bench that my friend made me. And let me use this app called the Insight Timer. Basically, it chimes at like different intervals. It's called Insight Timer. It's an app that has a free version, and I could just set it to a preset of 25 minutes. So it's going to chime at the 15-minute mark and then at the 25-minute mark. Just finding a comfortable posture, either laying down in Shavasana or into a seated pose. Remembering to be grateful for the day as we're moving forward. And if we're finding ourselves in the Zen type pose, having that same kind of slight brace in the core, like I think it's a forward pelvic tilt or yeah, anterior pelvic tilt. Relaxing the shoulders down and away. And we can have our hands in the cosmic mudra. It's held at what's called I think the Tandyan point or the Hara, which is basically the second major chakra area, right below the navel. And then we can extend up through the top of the head and focusing on whatever point of focus. It can be the third eye, it could be the breath, the air coming in and out of the nostrils, whatever is the preference. I'll begin. Bringing our attention back into the environment. Perhaps returning to a seated posture. Thanks for joining today. And we'll end with traditional namaste.